The political compound written in the news becomes somewhat of a noose wrapped around America's necks, filled with the car wrecks and the blank checks, blinding the facts of American abuse. People stand tall because the Oval Office is down to cut us down to our knees. Bloodshed for our freedom, then they cover it up with the red, white, and blue condoms. Save us from ourselves? Who's gonna save us from you? It's time for us to stand up. DontComply.com.
Welcome back to the Don't Comply Show. We're your hosts, Murdoch Biscotti and Phoenix Horton. And Matthew's not joining us today, but stick around till next week. He will be back. I know he'll be sorely missed this week. He's out with his fam. His daughter's like in national competition softball.
Ain't that fancy.
Yeah, I know, right? So the guy that was rapping in the opening song there, I think we should have him on the show and do like a rap-off, like freestyle competition between you and him.
Yeah?
Like live on one of the shows. I think that'd be kind of cool to do a reunion.
We've had plenty of those.
I know. Yeah, I've had practice. I mean, I've done live shows.
Yeah. Could be good. Could be good.
Maybe we should just put on like a free-for-all rap.
Do you have to stop at
contest.
a certain point, like when you're 40?
Really?
I don't know. I'm just I'm asking. Like,
well, did someone tell Dre or Eminem or any of these people?
Yeah, but they already made it.
Oh,
it's kind of like
once you make it.
Yeah, it's like the 50-year-old that still lives in L.A. trying to become an actress, but hasn't made it yet. At some point, you should be like, okay,
right.
Tried that, didn't work.
That didn't work. Maybe I should do something else. Yeah. So how many people are discovered when they're older? Not too many. All right. Well,
yeah. Eminem made millions by the time he was 25, so he can still rap when he's 60. That's cool.
Okay.
It is going to get weird, though. Because if you think about it, when rapping started to get big back in, what was it, early 80s and stuff like that, like these guys are just now getting to their 50s and 60s. And are we going to have the Rolling Stones type reunion tours where Eminem and Dre are like waddling up on stage and their little whatever walkers and trying to act like they're tough shit
back
still?
In my day when we was rapping like OGs.
There's going to be a lot of that we're going to have to deal with when we're older.
Hey, we're already seeing it with a lot of that acts that I grew up with, that they're just way old now and shouldn't be on stage. I mean, the Rolling Stones.
But for music,
stupid,
it seems to be like okay. I guess there's this aura around rappers that are supposed to be like young and tough thugs, and you're supposed to be like a gangster.
Well,
and then when you're 90 doing it, it's lost all its bravado.
No, I think Dre already took on the next level personas when he started talking about the OGs and stuff, how that he's not that young thug anymore, that he's gone past that. And so I don't know. I think he developed it into something different for him.
All right.
I think it's adapting. I think it's gonna work.
What if it triggers me?
Then you, as long as you're not on camera or YouTube somewhere.
So I'm listening to my round of podcasts, right? Okay. Every week, driving on the road. There's a show. It's called, I think, Invisibilia or something like that. But they're doing this story. And in it, this woman's about to go into a story about being bullying. And so they basically stop the show.
About being bullied?
Bullied. And they stop the show and say, this is a trigger warning. If stories about being bullied triggers you, you should probably turn off this episode.
What?
Yeah.
They stopped the radio show for a
trigger warning. Like a graphic warning on a Facebook video of something like you're about to see graphic footage. They were like, this is about to, if you get triggered by bullying, you're about to be triggered. You should turn this show off. This has come like to the full scale words hurt people type shit. Like, is someone going to be driving, start hearing about bullying and be like, oh my God, and just like run into a bridge embankment or something? Like, that's it.
I don't understand.
This whole word's just hurt and going to destroy you, and you're triggered. Like, what does that even mean? Like, this is a trigger warning because you might get triggered. What happens? What does that mean?
I think it means that you're a little pansy-ass bitch that haven't dealt with any issues in your life at all. You haven't done any introspective thought process, and any scenario where someone hurt your feelings, it may bring up those feelings again if you hear that word. So now you're just full of triggers.
I had to turn off the show just because I was so distraught about how stupid it was. I don't even know where to go from that.
Yeah, I love when new generations make up things and try to run with them. These generations coming up now are just coming up with the worst stuff out there, and it falls right in line with the extreme of where we've been heading all this time with the whole state taking over as your maternity figure and being that from cradle to grave parent for you. And I think all of these little things that you see in pop culture are starting to take even a turn for the worse, really, is when they're doing things like being triggered and having to watch everyone's feelings. First, it was the whole PC thing and getting people geared up. And this is a developmental situation that are all building on each other to make us more and more helpless towards let the state take over.
I guess it just gets to that point. I didn't even know how to categorize it anymore. Just weak. And it's so just this visceral feeling I get when I see weakness anymore. Like I just want to hurt somebody because they're so goddamn weak. It's like the lion that kills the zebra that's already sick and dying. It's like, just get that out of the damn gene pool already.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm not talking eugenics or anything over here, but but I do think maybe some people need to be sterilized. Just the dumb ones. Oh wait, Hitler did that. Shit. Maybe I can't go that route.
Does that mean that thread is done because you brought up Nazi Hitler? Godwin's law states that this thread is over. So moving on.
Well, I did it comparing myself to Hitler. Does that matter?
No, I just think when it's brought up in general, that pretty much.
Well, here's a wonderful follow-up story to this generation being extremely weak. If you need help using the latest smartphone app, ask a millennial. If you need help opening a jar, you might want to turn elsewhere. Young adults in the United States are losing their grip. A recent study suggests researchers tested, and they have found that men between 20 and 34 and women in their early 20s have significantly weaker hand grips than young people tested in 1985. Like they're losing all their hand grip from no manual labor.
Because the only thing they do now are this.
Yep.
Because, when I was that age, guess what? I've already rebuilt engines. I've taken apart my cars. I've changed tires. We did actual things.
They don't do that anymore. No, you have to call someone if your tire goes flat. They don't even... Wait. I just read a story from AAA that so many cars no longer come with... spare tires that they just instantly call AAA when they get a flat now. Everybody.
Yeah, well, this is the first car I've ever owned that doesn't have a spare on it. Because there's literally not room for it.
Well, they could have fit it in there if they wanted to.
Yeah, if there wouldn't have been a trunk. That's a really large tire for that small car.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could have put a little donut in there, but who would want to be seen driving on a donut? I mean, really,
Well, the story goes on to say that the fact that you have weak grip is important because you probably are weak elsewhere, says Dr. Richard Brannon, a physical therapist and a professor of health studies at Campbell University. It's a window into your world. It provides a peek behind the curtain of your overall health status. So
you don't think?
They're all just young, flabby, weak. I think it's good because we can kick all their asses when the statists try to come and round us up.
Okay, all right.
It's like, as long as you're under 20, I can just slam your ass to the ground.
Yeah, but see, those are going to be the PlayStation nerd boys that are going to be flying the drone or driving the robot that's equipped with a machine gun.
See, if we could all just come together and realize that we don't need to fight each other. We all need to fight the state.
If it were that easy, man. I see so many people. The election cycle... the last couple times were, I don't know, I was still half distraught with it. I'm like, yeah, okay, we actually have someone like a Ron Paul running, but his chances of getting in are still zil. It doesn't matter how much you really want to go at it. But, all right, I'll kind of participate. I'll become a state delegate and get into it. And, knowing he didn't have a chance to win, but still having some slightest hope in the fantasy of politics actually being legit.
Yeah.
And once I got into that and saw all the process happen, I quickly realized how it was nothing but a distraction and an energy dump for all these people who, without that little entertainment show and the place for a little treadmill for them to run on, they might, a good portion of them, be the people that would be fighting the state and helping to dissolve it if they knew that, or at least changing it and starting something different, because it's not designed to really take any of our input. You know, whether it be the platform committee at the RNC or DNC that have no effect on. What are you doing?
The camera
has no effect on the outcome. It doesn't affect how the politician votes or any of that. So now, you know, we've come to another election, and finally, I'm way past that, and I think a lot of people are starting to just this election term really figure out how it's all rigged, and they're all predetermined, and you know.
Well, I mean, it's beyond blatant this time around. Right. We just had all the emails leaked that show the DNC were just letting Hillary be the shoo-in, and it didn't matter who all the other Democratic nominees were. She was going to be the front runner, and they had already decided that. Same exact thing you've seen on the Republican side is when they lost control of being able to choose who their nominee was, they absolutely went ballistic and just lost all their shit because they didn't get to put forward the candidate they wanted. They couldn't trick you this time into, you know, electing their front runner of whoever it was, Cruz or Marco Rubio or whoever. They want to be able to decide. They'll put that narrative forward, and then all the sheep are supposed to come along and say, okay, we choose you, Pikachu. But no, they chose Donald Trump, and it just effed up the whole system. But it's all been glaring on both sides of the aisle this time. You couldn't point and say, oh, just the Republicans are corrupt, or oh, just the Democrats are corrupt. Everyone has to step back and say the whole goddamn thing's corrupt. But in a week, it's not a story anymore, and they just move on to the next topic.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks anymore at all. No thoughts, no theories or compassion or understanding of a situation. They just move on. They just go on to another subject.
Yeah, and it's really sad because no one will follow up with it. No one will remember it. In 4 years, they get to do it all over again, and it's just this endless hamster wheel to keep people distracted and to keep them from actually solving any of the real problems. And I really deplore that it's given that much attention, and that so many people, even within our community, keep falling for it every year. It's just like this constant trying to wake people up from what you already woke them up to previously. It's just a continual, someone that sleepwalks every single night. You wake them up, they're like, oh, sorry, man, I was sleepwalking, and then everything's fine for the day, and then the next night they're up, standing, you know, walking through the house trying to drive their car, sleepwalking again. Yeah. It's just this ongoing, constant thing that's just it's tiring that to have to do this time and time again, and it doesn't seem like we're really getting anywhere. And I think that we really need to start some processes in place to change and start doing something else.
Yeah, it needs to all fall apart, and it's coming to it with things that we can't change, like the debt or currency collapsing and things of that nature. But like I said, it's going to keep repeating on and on this cycle. And you have people that seem fully informed. You have all these libertarian groups. You have people like Alex Jones, who supposedly fought the state for all these years. And because Trump said a few things that were anti-state or just anti-establishment, rather, then they have to just jump on that bandwagon wholeheartedly because finally one person said 1/10 of one thing that I believe, and so we're all going to put our chips into this one person. And yeah, it's great to have a hero. It's great to have someone that will speak your mind on a big national platform like that. But just to completely abandon all your, what you hold dear in your life, your
yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I know. You know, all the principles and ethics and everything you have, you throw away 80% of that because of one thing one person said. But you've got to remember, this is their campaign trail. This is all of the stuff like, I'm going to close Guantanamo. That never happens. They'll just get into another war and distract you. It's never brought up. You know, all of these things that he said he would do in his 4 years, he wasn't able to get done in the 8 years, and nobody cares.
Yeah,
it's not an issue. And the politicians know that. Everybody knows that. So they're going to promise you anything they want. And if they can say one thing in each speech that gets another 10% of the people to go, oh, well, I agree with that one thing, so I'm going to vote for this person. And then that's how they're going to do it. And none of that has anything to do with what they're going to do when they're in office. I personally don't think that they're doing anything at all. I think it's an entire show, and I think whatever they vote, whatever executive order, is all from a completely different set of people, that this is nothing but just a complete illusion. And when people say how that we're living in the Matrix, or that we're in a computer simulation or things like this, I think that's about as close to the truth as you can get, being that we're programmed from a child through all of the state-run school and media and everything that we are given and fed is designed to manipulate how we're reacting to things and how our emotions see things. And that we fill in 80% of the information around and of what we expect to be there, and they've really attacked that part of it and told you what else you see around it. And I just think this is a complete distraction. Fighting it, dealing with it, voting in it, all of these things are not at all effective. And I don't think it's going to help one bit dealing with the fake little green screen around us.
Well, because if you step back and look, none of the overreaching important policies have changed. Like, if you held my feet to the fire, there's probably 10% of things that I can agree with Obama on. There's 10 or 20% of things I can agree with Trump on. But Obama comes in office, says, I'm going to close Guantanamo. I'm going to stop all these drone strikes and these war crimes. And they're up tenfold under his rule. Right. He comes in and says, we're going to get more people out of prison. America's become a prison state. We lock up more people per capita than anywhere in the world. And I'm going to stop that. I'm going to stop this drug war. And then all these states start actually decriminalizing marijuana, and the federal government's coming after them. Mm-hmm. Obama's federal government's coming after these states for trying to say, let's not lock up the entire population of America. Let's deal with this in another way, but yet his government doesn't want to hear anything of it. So overall, they can play all these word games all day long, but what's actually happening behind the scenes, either he means none of it, or he has zero control and cannot enact any of these laws because he has masters telling him what to do. And they're still going to do the drone strikes. We're still going to be in wars. There's still going to be the war on drugs, the war on poverty, the police state, and it doesn't matter who we put in there.
Yeah, and I really like to see how nation states do change a lot of their major policies for how their population lives, because it's run like several little businesses, all the different countries, and they play different styles of raising their cattle, and some are a little more free range, some are a little more lock them in a little cage and get all the milk out of them you can, like a North Korea. But so it's fun to look at it in that aspect.
They're trying to milk me.
Oh, they're definitely milking you. More than one worry. And honestly, all of these little things, like whether or not they're going to lock you up for just marijuana, or whether the police are out there enforcing arbitrary laws like wearing your seatbelt with the threat of murder if you don't put on your seatbelt to help keep your body safe. All of these things, when you start analyzing them, you understand that you don't own your body, that you are just on a plantation, that you're someone else's property. You don't own property. If you don't pay your property taxes, they come and they take it back. There's all of the things that we're told about being free and having these rights and those rights don't exist. You really don't have any rights here. You are a slave. They allow you to do certain things to make you happy, to make you productive, to make you break out in entrepreneurship and invent things, and that's the reason America's where it's at, because they allow you to think that you're free enough that you start creating things. That's why we've had so much invented here over the last couple hundred years. And you're not. If none of these things make sense about the seatbelt laws and putting you in jail for putting things into your own body, until you realize the real reality of where you are at, that you are just on a plantation, that you are owned, all the property on earth is owned, that it's a complete control system, and you've got zero rights. You can be told that you have rights. You can tell yourself that you're free and you have rights, but you do not. And until we completely revamp this system and start trying to live outside of it, we're just going to continue this over and over again.
Amen. Well put. Well, just the first 20 minutes of our podcast is done on this beautiful 360 screen. For those listening in only audio, you stick with us. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, this is the only part of the episode that is done on video for now. So to listen to the rest of the episode, you'll have to go over to DontComply.com, click on the Don't Comply show, or you can just subscribe on the podcast on iTunes, and that makes it that much easier. SoundCloud, everywhere you want to be. And don't forget, you can go to DontComply.rocks, and that website will take you somewhere where you can support us and help us keep doing what we're doing.
See y'all next week. And for you that are on video,
get your ass over to the podcast. Do it. And we'll make love to your ear holes.
Oh, yeah.
DontComply.com.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check your instruction manual or call the business office for assistance.
Stay tuned for more Don't Comply Show.